Meeting to order for November 20th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrari? Mrs. Taliani?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Dr. Lynch?
Here.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Here.
Mr. Pacetto?
Here.
Mr. Sarver?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I agree. At this time, I'd like the members.
Gary has to say here.
At this time, I'd like the members of the board to look over the regular meeting minutes for October 23rd, 2024. If there's no additions, I need a motion for approval.
Second.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Under recognitions and comments from visitors this evening, tonight we're very excited to have our girls tennis team here, who had just a terrific year. With accolades, they were team sectional champions. Then they sent 6 Lady Cavaliers to qualify for state. That just showed how much hard work and emphasis you put on in the off season, because that doesn't come during the season. Great work ethic, and great congratulations from us, the Board of Education, and the entire LP community. Also with that, we have to congratulate head coach Aaron Gunther, who was selected the Illinois High School Tennis Coaches Association Girls 1A Regional Coach of the Year. At this time, I'd like the members of the team to come forward. I'll call you up individually. We have certificates for you, and you can meet the board. Ava Cervantes.
These are your people, Rosie.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Both
much.
us. Yeah, both of you.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Grace Pecchio.
Thank you. Congratulations, Grace. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Elena Leone. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Proud of you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Kaylee Mickley.
You tell their tennis players they have great suntans.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice job. Proud of you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Kylie Holm. Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Izzy Pecchio.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice job, Izzy.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Head coach Aaron Gunther.
It was fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice job, Coach.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Great job.
Thank you. They did well.
Good job being Steve Johnson.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Assistant Coach Scott Blessman.
Not here.
Okay, still clap. Volunteer Assistant Coach Molly Leone.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Coach. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Well
Doctor.
done. You're welcome.
Great season. Congratulations.
Ken, congratulations. Great job. We'd like to take a picture. We'd like all the athletes over to take a picture. And coach.
Tennis, bowling, golf.
No problem.
Is that
Sand.
Aaron's certificate? Oh, that's no, it's Scott's. Yeah. Yeah, we'll emphasize that one. Yeah.
Wow.
Congratulations, everyone.
Down to this dragon. That's awesome.
You recognize Callie? I didn't.
You guys have clues going on.
I couldn't find it.
Wow,
I wish he would have liked to seen it.
you would have.
That's not a detail I usually look at.
Was it?
Well, I didn't see them as much as my dad did, but
Okay.
they live right next door to my folks.
All right.
Yeah.
Under the Vision Spotlight tonight, we have our Special Education Department. That will be led by Brent Thomas.
Good evening. I'm Brent Thomas. Thank you for having us.
Christy Woods. All right, and then also tonight, part of our group, unfortunately had last minute things coming up, is Abby Piscini and Courtney Curley.
So this is my third year at LP. I've been in education for 16 years, and I teach in the goals program here at LP. I'm nervous, I'm going to use my notes. Today we're going to be presenting an overview of the work that we've been doing in the Special Education Programs Department, focusing on our efforts to engage parents and partners in their children's education while working to meet the district's SMART goals. So what is it that we're doing? Last year we started an initiative inside the Programs Department to try and improve parent engagement in our special education programs. The goal is to provide parents with essential information, resources to help their children succeed both now and in the future. And what we started doing is we started holding regular meetings 4 times a year for our parents to come in. We aim to build a bridge to build the gap between the school and home, create a stronger support system for our students with IEPs, through recognizing student achievement, providing additional meaningful times with parents. We anticipate that our students' attendance rate will raise while raising help to reach the district's graduation and attendance goals. Sorry. So some of the reasons why we're doing this is we're motivation for incentive for personal. One of the reasons why I saw that I thought that this was pretty important was when my youngest daughter was starting to come into school. She received an IEP for some speech issues. And when my wife and I sat around when we were in that meeting, we really felt that IEP meeting was happening to us and not with us. So what we wanted to do is wanted to make sure that parents never felt that way, and providing them with some extra time and some resources so when we come in, we have our IEP meetings, we're working together as partners with our parents. This experience that I had kind of made me realize how important it is as parents are sitting around that table being partners with us to make sure that they have all the resources that they need. And we want our parents to feel like they're very valued partners, and that they're not just moving their students forward. We are moving our students forward with the district goals, but we want them to really partner with us as well.
Alright, so this whole idea came about after many conversations as a district of our goals of increasing attendance and graduation rate. Us all being in the life skills department is kind of its own breed of its own. We kind of go to a different beat, move a little bit different ways and stuff. So we really had to stop and think, how can we help support our students in a different way? So one of them was, like Brent's idea was this, to create these parent meetings. So like Brent said, what the whole reasons were. So the way we do this is we engage our students first and foremost by every student gets recognized for a work. Abby Pizzini recognizes somebody for the STEP program. I recognize somebody out of our transitions program. And then somebody out of Goals, Rise, and PACE all get recognized for attendance, personal growth, like an MVP award, and there's one more.
Just a citizenship.
Citizenship overall. So we recognize a total of around 9 students every quarter at our meetings. So, and of course, if you ask them, the biggest part is not do they only get to go there and show off in front of their parents, but they get Sip and Savor bucks to go along with their reward. So we entice them with something that is meaningful with the award. We let the parents know that they're going to be recognized that night so that then they can get there. The other thing that we do to enforce all of our life skills and stuff within the groups and to get parents motivated there is, if you have food, they will come. So we have all of our students engage in preparing something. The Sip and Savor brings down a small version and provides the drinks. The students in the high school program all rotate taking turns providing different treats and things. So again, I mean, you're always proud of the things that you make, so you're gonna get your parents there. So once we get that captive audience that we need, and I will say our attendance has been better than we anticipated. We're probably averaging about 50% or better sometimes of our group. And I would say for a new initiative, that's pretty good. You know, hopefully we would love to get that to more like a 75, 80% or more if we at all can. We offer the meetings in the evening to give a better opportunity for our parents to be able to attend. The big thing for us, besides engaging those parents and making them feel more comfortable, like Brett referred to, is providing information. In our area of special education, there are so many adult resources that you have to know about in order for them post-secondary, when they become adults, to be successful. Not only financially, but with the skills that they have to lead as much of an independent life as they possibly can. So that is the other initiative that we are doing, is providing that information to the parents. An IEP meeting isn't enough. It's a quick meeting, you're in, you're out, like Brett said many times, it feels like we're talking to you. And there's not enough time to have a good in-depth conversation about everything that needs to be done. So we have started using these meetings to bring in those resources to educate our parents, like, what is PUNS? Why is that important? What is this STEP program you guys keep sending me information from and my kids said they get a check for? You know, because lots of times we send it, say, fill it, do it, and then that's all there is to it. So these meetings are able to get a much more in-depth conversation about all of the support services that we did. So what we have done so far is at the very beginning, we got in and we just told the parents what we're doing, what's gonna be happening, how often we're gonna be having these meetings, and ask them for input, what they want. And it's usual, we hit deer in headlights, like they don't know what they want yet. So we started providing and giving them a direction. So we had puns, which it's a whole big thing, but basically long and the short of it is, I call them the gatekeeper for independent living. You have to have puns funds in order to be able to take advantage of independent living services, whether that's living in a group home, supportive, things from your own home, whatever. So it's very, very important. So we had somebody come in from puns. That, going into that night, I think out of all of our groups, we had one family signed up for puns. And that's something you want as early as possible. So only having one wasn't very good. When we left that night, we had 13 families signing up, getting ready to be part of puns. So that was a huge accomplishment. We also had DRS come in, which is the other gatekeeper, I call, of the employment world services. You gotta have them in order to get your job coaching and your supports for whatever it is, for college, work, whatever that might be. So we have the two most important people right up front and center. Let's get this going and get it over with. And now what we are continuing to do is just educate them on where they can find resources at. Who do you talk to? And creating that relationship with them and us so that we're not just a name in an email. That they can be like, hey, Christine, you were talking about this. Can you tell me more about it? Or can I call you and bend your ear about the situation? We want to have that conversation because it's overwhelming. It's a lot. So by having something different every quarter, and our plan is to continue it, so we're starting our second round this year. We started it last fall. We will bring in somebody new each time along with the recognition of the agencies.
Well, my last part is the vision for the future. So just working together with our students moving on after graduation or entering into the transition program, we want to make sure that we work toward each individual goal and the needs of our students. As mentioned by the rest of the team, we partnered with many community programs that would benefit our students as they move on into the workforce after graduating LP. Also moving forward, we'll continue to improve our communication with parents and provide them with tools and the resources that they need to help their children achieve academic and professional and personal growth. We also want our students to transition smoothly and effectively so that they have the tools in their hand that they need to be successful citizens in the Illinois Valley. Thank you.
So, like we said, we have these meetings quarterly. We plan on continuing to do them, and we hope that they just keep increasing and being more and more successful. But I also wanted to give you guys any chance, if anybody has any questions for us about our department, what we're doing. It's hard to explain exactly what we're talking about without living it, but
Could you share like the number of kids that you're working with?
10,
40.
is it 40 total? I was gonna have to add
Okay.
up. About 40.
Okay.
So, like I said, after one night of having the puns and you know, just to put it in perspective, getting puns funds is kind of like winning a small lottery, you know, getting
They're terrible.
that $100,000 scratch-off ticket. That's what winning the puns funds is. So, like, but the only way you can get that is to get on the list, and you have to answer some questions and stuff. So having a quarter or more of our people on that now compared to where we were, I would call that a huge success. So, and it's something we continue to work on. And that's just one agency of many that I hope that we can continue to connect and build those one-on-one, I know who you are when I see you in the community relationship with our parents, which is probably just as important. So, any other questions?
I find that the parent component of this is extremely important. In the homeless shelter, I many times am dealing with graduates that have been out a long time and their parents don't have resources.
Right.
They have come to the point where it's a family dispute. They're not getting along. They're not, the student didn't have this kind of support perhaps. in their life to be able to sustain themselves once they
Right.
become adults. And it is difficult. So I'm really excited about the parent component of this, because if the parents understand and can help them ease out into this rather than fighting about it or getting distraught with one another as adults, we could solve some problems.
For
Good job.
sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
One thing I found is when you do your age of majority,
Mhm.
is knowing attorneys that do age of majority, because not a lot of attorneys, it's not a big
Do that,
call, but not a lot
right.
of them do that. And then it's, it's every year they still have to continue on with that. So that was something that we were lucky to know a family of attorneys that does age
Right,
of
and
majority.
somebody that they
And
can
being able to
afford.
give them that information.
Correct.
After
Yeah.
they say he's 18 and not on the puns list, and you're like,
Right, right. Well, and there's so many, and that's just like one tiny component. There's so many factors when it comes to age of majority. You know, like lots of people think it's either no guardianship or all guardianship, and that's not the case. You know, guardianship, a full guardianship is your very, very last resort that you want to get to. But that's a very scary thing for a parent and stuff, and to understand and to do. So that's also part of what we want to continue to do, is try to make this journey not so scary. Try to make it to where they don't show up in my program and they're getting the boot come May and they look at me, well, what do I do? I want you to know what to do already. I don't want to have to be like, oh my goodness, there's too much to do in 2 weeks. You know, because that's what happens. So this is our whole goal, is that hopefully eventually, before they even get to me, all of this is done. I can be like, all right, we're moving on. That's the goal. So hopefully we can continue to do that by, even if we don't know the resources, showing them where to find the resources.
good stuff,
Thanks.
good service.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
very much.
Thank
Nice
you
job.
very much. Okay, under finance, a motion for approval for bills and payroll for LaSalle-Peru Township High School.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. I have a motion for approval of the LP Area Career Center bills and payroll.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. I need a motion approval for the payroll report.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. I need a motion of approval for the financial records as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn? Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Under correspondence, 7.1, we have a thank you card from the Pacetto family for the flowers and support in memory of Mr. Paul Pacetto, father of Mr. Scott Pacetto. 7.2, TIF reimbursement, City of LaSalle intergovernment agreement, TIFs, $117,351.93. The Village of North Utica tax reimbursement, TIF 1, $29,528.18. And Village of North Utica tax reimbursement, TIF 2, $6,849.60 for total TIF reimbursement of $153,729.71. Board committee reports, 8.1, Building and Grounds Committee, Mr. Ferrari.
The Building and Grounds Committee met last Monday, December 4th. One of the first items we discussed was the removal of some trees from the East Gym parking lot. That's already been accomplished. There were some messy crabapple trees that were messing up some of the school vehicles over there in the parking lot, and those are now gone. We also reviewed some photographs of some door wraps and field signage that went up at the baseball, softball complex out at the sports complex, and look very nice, very impressive. Really makes the buildings on that pop. Very similar to the painting that was done of the tunnel going into Howard Fellow Stadium. The dark green with the red striping and that, very nice. That's been accomplished. The Howard Fellow Stadium renovation for the summer and fall is just about completed. They're just going through a few punch list items, and further work, of course, will take place next summer. The Dolan Building elevator, as of last week, was simply awaiting final inspection and approval, so that project is about done. The 2 retractable basketball goals in Salette Gym have been installed, and I have not seen them myself, but I've been told that they look great. When they're lifted out of the way, it makes the scoreboards and that much more visible, and future installation for the other 4 goals in the gym will take place in future years. The exterior door to the courtyard that needed to be replaced, that's been done also. That was the door that got somehow missed during the building renovations a few years ago. Still waiting for further word on the press box windows out at the sports complex, the broadcast booth, and the early childhood playground over at the Dolan building is nearly completed, and I guess they're looking at setting a date for dedication. And they are working on drawings for the health occupations classroom in the Dolan building, so that project is moving along also. And that's about it. It was a relatively quick meeting again this month.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Ferrari. Finance Committee, Mr. Mirbeau.
Yeah, we met on Tuesday, November 12th, and regarding the monthly financials, we're 33 1/3% through the year. We received 70.46% of our revenues, which is down a little bit from last year at this point. But it's just timing from state reimbursement issues. I mean, we expect that to get back in line. On the expense side, we've expensed 49.93 of the budget, and that might seem a little skewed, but that's because of capital projects and the movement of working cash. So we're right at budget. It's just these timing of these items, and it'll get back in line as we go along. We also met and had a presentation from John Vassetti of Bernardi Securities in regards to a finance recommendation for the fiscal year 25 through 27 facility plan. $7.5 million of health, life, safety, that's in here, and we did recommend approval of that. We also then discussed the tentative levy and the recommendation for the tentative levy. That will be explained in depth, I would guess, by Dr. Robleski a little bit later, but we also recommended approval of that. Just so you know.
I'll talk about it later.
Siri was listening. And that's it.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Burwell. Policy Committee, Mrs. Elkhorn.
Thank you. We met on November 13th, and we talked about the press policy first reading. There wasn't much that we found there, and it was a quick conversation, interesting one. The final exam waiver revision recommendation was looked at again. It's so that final seniors are given 3 college visits a year, and it's not counted against their attendance, is what we're suggesting. We approved that before, I think, and we're just reviewing, or?
Yeah, I did not have it on the agenda last month. Yeah, so just getting caught up.
And the second one was the makeup redo retake policy review. So the district is going to be doing research on the issue of attendance in relation between the causes of not attending and the solutions of how we address that issue. And so it's going to be, you know, retaking things, redoing things, making up opportunities. We're hoping that we can create a model that would be useful to all departments, so there wouldn't be so much diversity in our way that we approach this opportunities. And that was it. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Elkhorn. Public Relations Committee, Mrs. Taliani.
Didn't give me the gavel, but here I am. Okay, we met yesterday, and the spring LP IBCC Ag Dual Credit course is set to happen. In the spring of 2025, you had a meeting today.
Did?
And I'm sure you'll tell us about that. It's very exciting. The Ag program is having the Festival of Lights fundraiser on Monday, the 25th at Rotary Park. If you're interested in checking out how amazing Rotary Park is, that would benefit our Ag program. So that's a fun thing to go and see. We talked about the district fundraising procedures, had a conversation about evaluating the current fundraising procedures, and that's just a conversation that has begun. We are looking to reinstate the board coffees on January and February, and Mr. Sarver, I think you and I are the first ones in the barrel for that one. So, no Mexico trip then either, buddy. So that is.
Guess that's what happens when you miss a meeting.
that is all we went over, and that's all I have.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Taliani. Administrative reports. Superintendent's report, Dr. Obleski.
Thanks very much, Mr. Sarver. I want to start first with taking a moment to express gratitude and appreciation to every member of the Board of Education. November is the formal month of recognizing school board members. In fact, last Friday, November 15th, was School Board Member Appreciation Day. I want to give a lot of thanks to Matt Baker and Jen Riva that worked together on putting together some social media posts that went out. I hope you had a chance to see that. I know you were asked to provide some feedback to Mrs. Riva, and so we really appreciate all your participation in that and their efforts to be able to celebrate you. I think it's important, too, to emphasize that this is an unpaid position. You are all volunteers. And I believe it is one of the most important volunteer positions that you can put your name forward on a ballot, because I think it has a direct impact on what happens in the lives of our kids. And I think that's our future, that's our investment. And I know there are times that you're faced with difficult decisions, and sometimes it's very thankless. But we want to take these moments, though, to be able to express appreciation. And I know, Superintendent, I so enjoy working with every single one of you. I think we've got a great team, and it's a lot of fun, to be able to work with all of you. So we have a thank you gift, a recognition gift that we'd like to present to you. And I want to thank Jen Riva for researching this and coming up with the idea for it. So we'll just go around and present these to everybody. You have a gift card as well to Dunkin' Donuts. This is actually from our activities director, but the fun thing is on the inside. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, the donuts will be too.
Yeah.
Oh, you like donuts?
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know what, we need to do that.
I don't eat donuts.
Really?
I haven't had a
All
donut
the
in 25
baking that
years.
all the baking that your wife does and you
Don't
don't.
make donuts. Now I can eat sheet cake with sitting around.
Thank you.
So very much. Appreciate you.
See, you guys are professional. You guys stood up. You caught me on a turn.
I'm gonna open mine.
Very much.
Well, sir.
Well, I can, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead and open them.
The ribbon was so nice. I didn't want to. Oh, very nice.
How much paper do you think I have?
I could have used that.
Figured you probably could use that.
Could have used that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, we're gonna make sure your office is completely outfitted
Oh,
with
there's some
appropriate
red
balance
green
of red and green.
Red and green. A lot more pink. So I can
Yeah,
get some red and green.
pink is good too. Pink's a very good color. So moving on in my report, I want to, as Mr. Murbaugh foreshadowed, to have just a discussion or review of our proposed tentative levy. So you have a copy of that at your station. Once again, the LaSalle County estimates are high. I think one of the key reasons for that is that they're still getting caught up on ensuring that the properties within our county are really at market value. There's been a lot of years that there has just been they have not been properly assessed. And I think that's been probably the harder pill to swallow a little bit these last couple of years, is that the ramp-ups have been much larger. The estimates that we received indicated that we could expect a 9.7% increase in the EAV. We are not recommending to capture all of that. We're actually recommending to have an increase of the actual levy minus the bonds of 7.4%. So we're looking to reduce the tax rates to be able to provide a level of relief to our taxpayers, but yet still be able to be fiscally responsible to be able to pay for all the services that we have put in place for our students and the way that we support our staff. As Mr. Murbaugh had shared, the proposed levy includes the sale of not the approval of the sale, but it includes the financing of $7.5 million in health life safety bonds. If you recall, back in October, you approved our 2.5-year facility plan. That will actually then begin the process for us doing the work. That will begin next month in December. But if you take a moment to open up your levy to page 3, you'll see the levy worksheet. I'm just going to draw your attention to the column highlighted in yellow. That is the proposed tax rate that we're recommending. I want you to just kind of compare that to the column to the right, the tax year 2023 rate. If you go down to the very bottom where you have that longer boxed in area, we are proposing a tax rate of 2.57510. That's compared to what it is this year, 2.590. There's a possibility that the tax rate could actually drop even more if the extension of the final EAV comes in higher than what we're proposing. And I guess I want to share too, this is in 14 years as superintendent, this is the first time I'm proposing a levy where we're kind of expecting to leave money on the table. And I think that's really important to emphasize too, particularly for our taxpayers. So if the actual levy extension comes in higher, the EAV comes in higher, the county is not going to say, hey, you didn't ask for that much, we're going to give it to you. They will give us what we asked for. So so if that happens, we have a couple of our taxing buckets, if you will, that will actually lower the tax rate, because the way that we've calculated it on, if the EAV comes in higher, the dollar amount that we're asking for will actually have a lower taxable value because it's an inverse relationship. The higher the EAV comes in, the less the rate has to be to capture the amount of money we're asking for. So that is what we believe is going to happen. Because our ask is over 5%. By law, we have to have a truth in taxation hearing. So that would be one of the hearings that we're going to be having before the regular board meeting in December. We'll have a couple others, though, that would be related to the beginning sale of the health life safety bonds. So you can see in the box on the right hand corner what the projected tax decrease will be for the appropriate valued homes. I think the other thing too that I would ask the board members too, just to keep in mind too, is you have conversations with your constituents when the final extension comes in, that a homeowner is still going to see an increase we're going to see the increases in our property tax bill, right? Because the value of our homes are going up, but LP has done our part to reduce the tax rates. So we're not capturing as much of that new value as we could. So we're projected with the amount that we would also levy with the bonds that would be selling of bringing in $18,922,043. That would be just the property tax that we would bring in. And remember that our revenue is a three-legged stool. It's local property taxes, it's state revenue, state aid, and federal resources. Now there's another bucket too for the local that's not part of this. We don't levy for it, but that's the CPPRT. And that will be anywhere from between $1.8 and $2 million of revenue. Are there any questions? Okay. All right. Very good. Well, say we had a really, yep, I know you have. Yes, yep. We had a really good finance committee meeting and discussion that we kind of wrapped in the levy as well as the discussion with the bonds, and it was really, really good conversation. So the next part of my report is going to be a tag team with Mrs. Cushing. This is the month that we update the board and present to you the school report card, which would be the 2024 school report card. You have a copy. There's two documents. Actually, there should be just one that we kind of stapled together. But there's two reports in this that Mrs. Cushing and I are going to talk through to be able to give an update on how well we're working on our SMART goals as well as our overall status of how we're measured. So we're going to do this a little differently. There's two side chairs on the end of the tables. We're going to just kind of slide those into the top of the U. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a conversation. We thought we'd try to do this a little bit differently than what we normally do. And it'll just be Mrs. Cushing and I. And then the first part, as far as my overview, I want to talk a little bit about the house. So give us a second to rearrange ourselves. So, a little bit of an overview. I want to draw your attention to the house on the monitor. This is a public document. This is the Illinois School Report Card. You type that in your Google box or your Bing box, and this will take you to that. Then you type in LaSalle-Peru Township High School, and it'll bring you to our homepage. We're sharing this with you because part of what our goals have been this year is helping our entire school community understand how the state arrives at our designation rating. So we are commendable, which is the second highest. The highest one is distinguished. But I think what's really important is the way that the score is calculated. We've become very strategic, particularly with our guidance from our solution tree consultant, Mr. Jack Balderman, as we've been working on our PLCs. So if you take a look at the house, each of those 8 boxes represent the percentage that you see to the right. That is the weight, that's the portion of the total score the way that our total score is calculated by the state. So our 2 SMART goals center on graduation rate and chronic absenteeism. If you look at those 2 boxes there, that makes up 60% of how our score is calculated. So we're being very strategic one, these are the most important things, right? Show up to class on time, show up to work on time, come every day, do your work, and then you're going to graduate, or you're going to get a job promotion, you're going to get a raise. I mean, we're really emphasizing those correlations. But the other thing too of that is we believe that we're targeting things that we have more control over, that we can influence through our programs, through our policies, that will help kids get across the stage. So you can see 50% is that weight, and we're weighted at 34.59%. We have work to do, but Mrs. Cushing will talk more about where we're at with our SMART goal attainment. Here's the thing, though, that I really want to emphasize. If you look at the far left, ELA proficiency, and then right below that is math proficiency. That is the results from the SAT, soon to be the SAT test. If you'll notice on that, the weight for each of those is 7.5%. So the reality is 15% of our total score is standardized test scores. So that makes our aspiration, our goal of moving from commendable to distinguished, we believe, more attainable, because it's only 15% of the total score. If you look at the climate survey, that's the 5 essentials. You get 100% by getting 100% participation. And that's it. So that's going to be one of the things too. We're cracking the whip even more to ensure that we should be getting 100% or as close to 100% with our staff and our students on that. And then you can see the breakout for the other ones. Our science, the science assessment, that's 5%. That'll be interesting to see how that may change now that we're going back to the ACT, because there's a science component in that. But this gives you an idea of how our school designation, our school rating is calculated. Once again, I'm just going to emphasize, we believe that if we focus our energies on the components that will have the greatest movement, we can position the district and our kids and our staff and our community to move to a distinguished rating. That is our aspiration. The documents that you have, any questions on the House? Okay. The documents that you have in front of you, there's 2 reports. One is a state percentile analysis. This is the second year we've used this report. So you received this report last year. And then we've purchased a second report that is a comparative district analysis. The comparison analysis involves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other high schools that generally look like us from demographics, the size. The only maybe 3 anomalies on here would be Kalen and Sycamore. They're unit districts. But we included them in there because they're in our high school conference. So we're always compared to your schools that you compete against. And we put Seneca in there. It's in the county. Seneca is who we're chasing. And so if we want to bypass who is the highest achieving, we need to know where they're at. So that's why they're included in there. And then lastly, our 2 SMART goals. Last year was we wanted to have a 2% growth gain in our graduation rate and at least a 2% reduction in our chronic absenteeism. So that kind of gives an overview of where we are with our goal targets and the data that we're going to be looking at. So turn it over to Mrs. Cushing.
So as Dr. Blessing said, the 2 goals that we had focused in on were graduation and chronic absenteeism. So if you would take a look actually at page 3 if you want to follow along, otherwise I'll just kind of share those highlights there. If we look at the graduation rate on page 3 of the state report there, we can see that we've met that goal right on the exact target there of 2% growth. We went from 82.6% up to 84.6%. So we met that target. I think that's a great point of celebration for us to make that movement with our students. The page 6 has where the chronic absenteeism data is, if you want to look at that a little bit closer. And you'll see that in that area, our goal was to decrease that area. Obviously, we want to have more kids here, less kids absent. So we went from 28 0.4% down to 26%. So we exceeded that goal by 0.4%. Not huge, but certainly did better than the goal, which is something to celebrate. A few of the other things to highlight in here that were good celebrations. There's obviously lots of things when we look through the data that we can celebrate, but that we felt like as an administrative team that we were proud of was also on page 7. This was our 5 essentials survey, taken by students, staff, and families. And we would just highlight that supportive environment, something that we're pretty proud of. Here is grown by 4% on their thoughts on that area. So that was a great celebration point for us. And then I take you back to page 3 again. There's another piece that, while it hasn't been a SMART goal for us, it has certainly been something that we focus a lot of our attention on, which is the 9th grade on track. The reason that is so important is because it is correlated directly to the graduation rate. And so there is predictions that would say that if a student is passing their core area, which is the data that they use, it will tell us a pretty good idea of what our graduation rate would be. So that piece of data is something that we look at a lot, and I'm really excited and happy to see that has grown a lot, in fact by 4.5%. So very promising of what our students are doing here in the building in terms of their work there in their classes. So as anytime we have a celebration, we certainly want to celebrate it beyond just our administrative team talking about it. And we're gonna look to celebrate with our staff and our students. So staff, we know they're motivated, not that they don't love coming here, but they're motivated by getting out of work 30 minutes early. So we know they value that, so we decided that since they value that, we're gonna show them that we appreciate them for all the work they've done to meet the goals. So we're gonna select a day, and they're gonna get to leave 30 minutes early. So not student time, but their end of the day time. And then with the students, we're going to give them ice cream treats because students love food. And our administrative team will serve the students the ice cream treats during lunch. So a little recognition that as a team, we have met our goals.
Thanks. Any questions on that status of our SMART goals? Okay. Now there is a however in our presentation as well. And so I'm going to kind of direct your attention then back to page 3 on the first part of the report. And if we look at our ELA proficiency, math proficiency, and then the science proficiency, unfortunately we saw declines in all 3 of those, and we believe significant declines. And those are areas that I guess initially it kind of took us off guard because we saw gains last year. So we have spent a lot of time the last couple of days digging into this, and we do have some recommendations that are going to begin in January to begin to address this drop. But what has really helped us, and what we believe is going to be an aid in motivating and I guess what I like to say, hopefully inspiring our students, is going to be coming out of the comparative district analysis report. For those of you that have been involved in athletics, and I think any good coach, and maybe we'll focus here at LP High School. When you're meeting with your team at the beginning of the season, right, you're setting goals, right? We want to set targets that we want to get kids excited and motivated for what we want to accomplish. And if we stay centered on our current athletic conference, let's just pick on basketball. I'm kind of in front of the kids, and I'm thinking that our coaching staff is going to emphasize a couple of things. One, we need to beat Ottawa. No matter what, we got to beat Ottawa this year. We got to beat our rival. We want to win conference. Okay, we want to win regional. We want to win sectional. We want to get to super sectionals, and then obviously the ultimate goal is state. And it should not matter what level of kids you got in front of you, right? If you don't start that athletic season by saying we want to be number 1 and we're going to strive to do that, well then what are we doing, right? I mean, what are we doing? So we're talking about using the same approach as we look at our academic competition. So I'm going to ask you in your, now they're stapled together, so you're going to have to get to the first report goes through page 8. Then you're going to hit the comparative district analysis. I want to direct your attention to pages 8 and 9. Page 8 is where we rank in comparison to our peer analysis on ELA, English Language Arts. So we are a little below the middle, okay, a little below the middle. 25.8% of our kids met or exceeded the state average, the state average. Now, I was going to point out that the overall state average is about 39%, okay? So there's growth to be had across the state. But that gives you an idea of how far away we are from the state average. And then you can see there's a line there, about 30%. That's kind of the average for our peer group. And you can see then where we rank in comparison to those other districts. Now, if you turn the page to math, we are second from the bottom in our math achievement. 13.2% of our kids are meeting or exceeding. Or the state average is a little bit above 20, but right around 28%. And you can see then that we have 2 schools, Morris and Sycamore, are exceeding the state average. We know we can do better. We absolutely know we can do better. But when our leadership team looked at this, honestly, I think the first reaction was like, well, first of all, it was like hope. Okay, we kind of see where we are in comparison. But we also know that we have to look at, well, what are the factors that go into this? Because when you also look at the other data on our school, 2/3 of our staff have master's degrees or higher. So, I mean, our staff is well educated. And we rank very high in comparison as well to the other districts. When you look at our operating costs per pupil, we're high. We are in the 77th percentile in that regard. And then when you look at just taking our total EAV, our property wealth, and divide that by the number of kids that we have in comparison to other schools, we're high. And so we're blessed. I would put that as a blessing, to be able to resources that we have. So when you look at that, you think like, okay, we should be doing better. We should be doing, our kids should be performing at a higher level. So there's a disconnect in how we're getting them prepared for the tests. So that's kind of where we landed at our administrative team meeting. That was yesterday. That we met with the leadership team. So we want to talk about what we're going to do to operationalize this. To begin the process in January. One, we want to celebrate. We hit our goals, but we got a lot more work that we need to get done. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Cushing how to talk about that.
So from that operational side, obviously foreshadowed January is we're going to be sort of our kickoff. We'll obviously share this out with our staff at that first institute day of our plans moving forward. And then to kind of pinpoint more what the plan is, the test is what our stumbling block is. So in order to get better on something, obviously anything that we do in life, we obviously have to practice at it. So that is going to be the overall goal, is to practice more. So what we're going to do with the ACT is we're going to do practice exam at a school-wide level to show that importance of, this test is important, and so we're going to have that practice at the freshman, sophomore, and junior levels. We're going to do that in approximately February to give them time to see what that's like. We'll score it. We'll be able to use that data to impact our instruction moving forward before they have to take the test in the very end of March, and we can do some adjustments there with instructions. We'll also start to incentivize students on the exams as well. And that will be something that we're going to create sort of a committee to take a look at exactly how we're going to roll those things out. But we know our students are very motivated by the final exam waiver. And so we're going to take a look at how we are going to use the meets or exceeds on those tests. And similar to how we're patterning that now, but we're also going to look at those students who are really not scoring well, but we're going to look at them as a way to show growth, so that there's hope for everybody to be successful in this scenario. Because we certainly don't want those students who are coming in scoring really, really low and can say, I'm never going to hit that meets. We want to show them that we are paying attention, and we want them to also show growth, no matter where they start. And then we'll continue to move that into the next school year, but we'll increase that from just one test to 3 times a year. The approach will also take a look at the 3 divisions that the test addresses, which is English, math, and science. And then we'll do a deep dive into curriculum alignment, as well as assessment alignment. So we feel like we have a pretty practical approach to how we can handle the ACT and improving the ACT, so that everyone, teachers, faculty members, and our students become really familiar with it.
This is one of our lessons that we've been taking away with our consultant, and the same success that he's had in other districts that he's led in Illinois. You know, it's the philosophy that we're applying here is a student by student, skill by skill approach. That we want our teachers to be able to have data on every kid that's also going to be able to look at skill by skill, where their strengths are, where their deficiencies are at. You know, and as Mrs. Cushing indicated, by doing these benchmarks, these are using the ACT as the benchmarking tool. One is we're going to be able to generate a report, because it's a skill-based assessment that obviously has content to it. But that data will also then be given back to the teachers in their collaborative teams, in their departments, to begin looking at, here's our kids, here are the skills, every skill that our kids are deficient in or they're exceeding in, and what that needs to happen, what happens now, what needs to happen in their curriculum, in their instruction, to ensure that kids are getting the exposure, the practice that they need. We also want our teachers to begin looking at just the structure and style of the assessment. It's like, once again, it's like if you don't know what it is, how do you prepare for it? So we want to then begin looking at our own assessments, regular assessments, classroom assessments that could be modeled or should be modeled after how the ACT questions are written. So the more proficient our teachers become, the more proficient they're going to be at providing kids with opportunities to become more confident with that. And I think the thing we like most about this is that, you know, many colleges now, they don't put the weight that they once did on the ACT and SAT. So you can't use that anymore to say, hey, this is going to be your ticket in. So our ticket, right, the way we're going to emphasize this is that we don't care about that. Because, you know, your college-bound kids, they're going to care about it anyways. You know, there's already a built-in motivator with those kids. We want to look at it as, you know, we're going to be using it as Mrs. Cush indicated, as an incentive, but we're also going to be using it as the benchmark to be able to show our kids, here's where you're at now, and then allow them to see the growth. And for our teachers to be able to use it as a teaching tool. So it's going to become more important, not for external reasons, but for internal reasons. That we believe, especially from what Mr. Balderman has shared and in his experiences, that you begin to see rapid growth because there's more awareness to what is on the test, how it's structured. And that's going to relate back then to our house measures. And I think we really can begin seeing acceleration in our designation as a district. Any questions on the data, and our plan?
So you're going to be teaching to testing. The test is going to inform what you're going to teach.
So it's going to inform the skills
Okay.
that need to be addressed. And I think that's the important thing too, is that we're really looking at the skills that are being measured on the test.
So when they see that ACT test, they're not like, oh my God, I've never seen questions
Bingo.
like this before.
Yes.
Because it's been the SAT and now it's back to the ACT until
It
the
changes
state,
again, yeah.
until it changes
Yeah.
again. But the mode of the questioning, that sometimes gets the kids like, oh my God, and now
Yeah.
your time is almost up, and you're.
I
If they're
remember
not,
that.
yeah, if they're not used to how the questions are.
Well, in a lot of ways too, it doesn't matter what the content is that you're being assessed on the ACT. In many ways, it's a reading test. It's all about interpreting what you're being asked. You know, and so that's part of what we want to do too across the curriculum, is for our staff members to begin exposing kids, you know, to the style and the structure of that assessment. So, I mean, are we teaching them the test? I mean, we're using the test in the way that we should be, because we're measured on it. So I would say, yeah. You know, on one hand, yes, we are, because that's how we're being assessed. But we're going to use it in a way, though, that we're going to work hard to build an internal motivation. And that's where we use the pride piece on this, too. I mean, we do this in the right way, because this is not about beating anybody over the head. This is where we are. But I think that if we do this the right way, we can do it in an inspirational way that, you know, this becomes our target, right? Once again, it's a competition. We want to beat Ottawa. We're chasing Seneca, you know, and I think that's a good thing. That's an important thing for all of our kids and staff to be doing, or Sycamore, you know, in this case, depending on what the content area is.
I noticed that the average class size of LP is like 18%. And it's one of the lower ones on the thing. So I was wondering how those schools with larger class sizes are accomplishing what they are in the scores. Do we know?
Well, that would be one of the things that the value of this report is to reach out to the schools and have conversations with them. That was one of the other things that we've talked about. You know, I'm going to steal a line from Dr. Lang sitting behind me that we talked about when we analyzed this. The real important thing is that our targets were graduation rate and chronic absenteeism. We set a goal. We hit both those goals. And so I think the message and the lesson is what we put our energies towards, we get results in. You know, and so we need to do some more conversations with these schools. Our consultant's been a huge resource for us. We're actually going to have a meeting set up with him. We want to be able to bring in some skilled teachers that he has on his staff that we would look to bring in as consultants to be able to help us unpack the ACT and align it to our curriculum in a way that's going to help our teachers feel confident in doing it.
Truancy and mobility doesn't help you at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, no. But I'm glad you shared that, because that's part of what our messaging is too, is that we can't control that.
No, you can't.
You know, and I think that, and I know you'll agree with me on this one, is that this is not going to be about blaming the kids. This is not about blaming their home life, their family life. Because I think if we get into that mindset, well then, what are we doing? And we need to always be looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying, what do we need to do differently to be able to motivate and capture these kids? But I'm glad you pointed that out. Because our low income rate, right, is higher too. But that's not going to be an excuse.
No.
It's not going to be an excuse. I don't care what the kids' home life is. We have them while we have them, so what are we doing to best prepare them?
But in adding on to what Carol said, I mean, but there's a lot of positives in this district that.
Yes.
I mean, with the high EV per pupil, the
Yep.
high spending per pupil, the education of the staff per pupil, I mean, there's a lot of work.
We have a high retention rate of our staff as well. You know,
Yes.
so that's 100% there are.
There's a lot of reasons why.
Yes.
They should be better, or be going in that direction.
At the end of the day, we believe we just need to do leadership. Not our teachers, our leadership. We need to do a better job making this a priority and giving them the tools to be able to unpack it, to make sense of it, to create lessons and assessments that will mirror this assessment. So in that case, we're talking about looking in the mirror. I mean, that's what we're talking about right now. We see this as a leadership issue, you know, that we need to do a better job putting our teachers in a better position to do for other kids to do better.
And make a 5 Essentials Day, because that's
Absolutely.
huge.
I completely agree with you.
I never realized how huge the 5 Essentials was.
Yes. Isn't that powerful
It's
information?
unbelievable.
It's powerful data to see that. And it doesn't matter what your results
knew
are.
how it was.
It's
I didn't
just
learn
it's
that
like
tonight, but
yeah, no, but I know what I'm saying though. Yeah. But yeah.
Because I would see 5 Essentials as a teacher, and it was like,
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's a huge survey to do.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Just me, I'm not speaking. I was glad to hear you say, honestly, as a group there, that you were kind of shocked.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because.
Blown away shots.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I was too.
Yeah.
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 What you can do is work from here.
Yeah.
Improve it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions? Okay. Nice job.
I want to be around to see the improvement.
I'll send you
But I'm not going to be.
We'll save you a seat.
He's fine.
Just to wrap things up here, we're going to have our RIF Joint Review Committee meeting on honorable discharge recommendations. That date is actually, initially I was going to try to have it today. It's going to be on Monday, the 25th. That will be our annual meeting with the union. We have an ISB review for our school meals program in the cafeteria. That's going to be December 9th and 10th. And then we had a FOIA request that you have the information in your packet in terms of where we are with that. I want to thank Mr. Zukowski and his office for kind of helping us with the with that FOIA request. And we have responded to the requester. That's all I have.
Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Dr. Valesky. Principal report, Mrs. Cushing.
Hello again. In my report there, I had quite a bit of data about the parent-teacher conferences. I'll let you read through that. We were down a little bit is the only thing I would share from the previous year, but still it was a very good turnout overall. I certainly cannot complain about how many.
Was that a comparable date?
Yes, it was a comparable date.
Okay,
Yes.
because that was my question.
Yeah, comparable date, comparable times that we
Okay.
have in there as well, yes. The other things that I would highlight in there, since we were talking about SMART goals, we're still working on graduation as a SMART goal for this year. So we have been calculating and sharing out a lot of data on a very regular basis to make sure that everyone in the building is very aware, including our students at our pre-huddles. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware as well. So I included in there that same information that we've been sharing. This is what was shared at our huddles. Right now we have, out of all of our classes, so there's over 7,000 grades in the grade books, and we have 93.52% of them are passing grades. So that is a wonderful thing to hear.
That's positive.
And then you can
That's
see
very
where I also
positive.
included some of
Yeah.
the information about the various levels of failing grades, and we have practices in place that we're working on capturing those kids and getting them some extra help. I also highlighted some of the things there about all the different assessments that we've had going on in the past month. But the one that I really want to point out was the seal of biliteracy. We have really increased the amount of students that are participating in that, and also the number of students that are passing that. So this year at graduation, there will be a whole lot of names to read off. We also have another administration of it in the spring as well, so we're hoping to capture even more. And the last thing that I'll end on, just to highlight, was our Veterans Day program. It's one of my favorite programs, besides graduation, but I really enjoy that day of getting to honor all of our veterans. We had 32 in attendance this year, pretty consistent with our previous years, but it was really great to have them all there, and then also stay for a little while to have some conversation along with some coffee and snacks with them as well. So it was a great day. Any questions in my report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cushing. Athletic Director's report, Mr. Hanson.
Good evening. Fall athletics are in the books, so that ended with our swim co-op swimmer that she finished at the state tournament last weekend, so that put an end to the fall season. Along with Coach Gunther, we did have another coach get recognized this fall, and that was Coach McNally, who was voted Sectional Coach of the Year. So all of the swim meets, they name a Coach of the Year. So out of that sectional, all those coaches voted him as Coach of the Year. So we probably should recognize him next month. I just found out over the weekend.
That's great.
So, winter sports are underway. Bowling, boys bowling is off and running, and girls basketball probably just finishing their third game right now. So, boys basketball, wrestling start next week, and then girls bowling and swimming will be added on a week later. So we'll be off and running starting next week. On the activities side, after our last meeting, our band did travel to Western Illinois and walked away with many, many awards. Most importantly, they were named grand champion for the first time in our history, so at Western Illinois. So kudos to Mr. Stevens and the rest of his group. And then our Special Olympians bowled in the sectional on October 26th. And we had two that will qualify for the state tournament in December. Rosalind Miller and Eric Poole both qualified in bowling for the Special Olympics state tournament, which will happen in December. And then lastly would just be in your packages our 24 Hall of Honor class, which we met and had some good discussions, but we think we presented you with a great class. So, any questions for me?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Director of the Area Career Center, Dr. Lang.
Good evening. Two things to note. Early childhood education program began teaching the little ones at the beginning of the month. So every one of the student teachers in that class, those classes, they're assigned 1 or 2 of the little ones, and then they have to plan all of their activities for the week. So they do some teaching activities. A pretty cool one that happened last week is they were teaching, one of the teachers was teaching her little group how to plant seeds, and they're going to be observing the growth as they germinate and grow. So that was kind of cool. They really pride themselves on the reflective activities that the students get to enjoy in there. So in preparation for some stakeholder discussions I talked about with the computer program and trying to revive what's going on there, we recycled 8 pallets of antiquated computers, equipment, just all kinds of things that were not going to be able to be added to a network. They're not safe, that sort of thing. So we're trying to make the space more usable so that when we get to the point where we want to interview somebody, they can come in and feel prideful when they walk in there and not want to run. So that's that kind of thing. On November 1st, health occupation students, they visited the National University of Health and Sciences in Lombard. One of the really cool things they got to do there, they went to the cadaver lab and they got to interact with that, but then also they were able to interact with kidneys, hearts, and other organs, so they were kind of seeing how that worked out, and they were really excited about that. If you get on Facebook, you can actually see some of the students, they were so excited about it, they were all napping on the way back. So, another cool project, the welding students, several years back, they helped construct some of the Rotary Park light displays, and one of them was Cyclops Welding and Manufacturing here in town, and they asked them to add to the display. So a couple weeks ago, they added, and there's going to be a pair of GMAW welders that are going to include motion in their display now, and the ACC kids built that. And then the last thing, on November 13th, 109 sophomores from Mendota High School visited the Area Career Center. They started their day in the Matheson Memorial Auditorium. It's kind of cool listening to them say things like, "Oh wow, this auditorium's way better than ours." That's cool. And it is. I'm really proud to be here too. Obviously being an Ottawa high school graduate, there's really some great things going on here. We're going to have Princeton here on the 25th, and then we're going to have 2 other schools here in December. So, with that, any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Lang. Director of Communications, Mr. Baker.
Good evening, everyone. Probably just a kind of bigger recap as looking at the year. I think as much as last year, as I think about it, was a lot about figuring out our live streaming system and getting kind of all of those kinks worked out. This year's really been about how do we best use the big new display board in Select Gym. So that's really been what a lot of the time has been on lately. So we've been doing some really cool things. and again, kudos to Mrs. Cushing and Ms. Franklin for what they did with the Veterans Day program. We were able to live stream all of that, which we've done in the past. This year, the cool piece we were able to add, and this is thanks to, again, some stuff actually that Mr. Hansen helped set up with our summer trips up to Wisconsin to see how other districts are using the equipment. We're now able to take a live camera feed from in the gym and put it up onto the board with some new equipment that we purchased. So our guest speaker was able to go up there. If we ever get to the point where maybe we have some more student assistance and things like that, we could have like fan cams during basketball games and things like that.
No kissing cams yet.
If somebody wants to sponsor the kiss cam, I'm happy to put it up there. But yeah, exactly. That's the sort of thing, though, as we start thinking about how we can really add to the show element of our sporting events and other activities that happen in Salle Gym now. There's a lot that we can do, and we keep adding more. Just this afternoon, I had the boys' varsity basketball team in my office. We're getting photos and video clips to create new player intro videos that will go up on the board. So we'll be ready for Meet the Cavs on Friday night. I know no one will be able to be there because we'll be in Chicago. But it should look nice, but those will be all ready for the full season. And we'll be working with Coach Spencer to get the girls in next week, and talking with Coach Rebels about coming up with some ideas for the wrestling team as well. So we'll be all ready for the winter season as soon as we can. So that's kind of the big things that we've been kind of wrestling with lately. From that. But that's all, unless you have any questions.
Nope.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Under new business, 10.1, need a motion of approval to place the tentative 2024 tax levy for the school year 2025-2026 on public display in preparation for the Truth and Taxation hearing on December 18th, 2024.
So moved. For second.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Need a motion of approval for the 2025-2027 LP Lawson intergovernmental agreement.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch? Mrs. Alcorn? Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Need a motion of approval to induct the class of 2024 LP Hall of Honor inductees as recommended by the selection committee, which includes the 1967-68 varsity boys basketball team, the 2000-2001 varsity wrestling team, Melanie DiCarlo, Sue Gillio, Mike Goff, Steve Corson, Tom Kowalski, Jack Morgenthaler, Brandon Swindler, and Jeff Seneca.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. A motion of approval for the 2024 school report card.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch? Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. A motion of approval for the final exam waiver policy allowing 3 college visits per year.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.6, the press policy issue 117, October 2024, first reading is not an action item. 10.7, a motion of approval for the following retirement with regret. Ms. Sierra Bedanko Hill, business teacher, effective at the conclusion of the 2029-2030 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.8, any motion of approval for the following resignations. Mr. Jose Medina, head football coach, effective at the conclusion of the 24-25 school year. Mr. Patrick Carney, assistant football coach, effective November 1st, 2024. Mr. Jason Hartman, volunteer assistant football coach, effective November 1st, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.9, a emotional approval of the following appointments. Mr. Lucas Burris, assistant wrestling coach, effective for the 24-25 school year, replaced Mr. Mark Lorden. Mr. Jeff Miller, volunteer assistant girls bowling coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. Miss Christy Licks, a volunteer assistant girls bowling coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. Mr. Andrew Wazinski, technology club advisor, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. And Adam Roberson, volunteer color guard instructor, effective for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn? Mr. Sarver?
Yes. I need a motion to go into executive closed session for the purpose of A, discussion of the minutes of the meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meeting Act, whether for the purpose of approval by the body of the minutes or the semi-annual review of the minutes. B, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee. C, collective bargain negotiation matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, or deliberation concerning salary schedules for one or more class of employees. And D, purchase or lease of real property for the use of public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, with open session action items to follow.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Murbaugh? Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Everyone have a nice Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. Enjoy your time off.